Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Joni Ogg, and on behalf of travelprofessionalnews.com, home-based travelagent.com, and findahosttravelagency.com, I want to welcome all of you to today's webinar, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here with us. Now, today's webinar topic is Stay Ahead, Stay Profitable, Secrets of Tech-Driven Travel Advisors. So this is going to be very cool. We're really thrilled to welcome some executives from Cruise Planners to the virtual stage today, and they have brought another guest with them as well, who they will introduce. But first, I'm going to introduce Scott Koepp, which I know many of you know, one of our dear friends, who is the Chief Strategy Officer at Cruise Planners. And Scott is responsible for driving network growth, leading the training and events teams, and exploring new strategic opportunities. With over 30 years of experience in the travel industry, his motivational training style inspires sales and has earned him a reputation as a respected industry icon. And I think he just got another award last week. Guy's got more awards than you can believe. He is a Lifetime Achievement Award winner and inducted into the CLIA Hall of Fame, showcasing his profound contributions. And Scott's expertise in sales and travel retail operations is absolutely dedicated to empowering travel advisors to reach their full potential. And he's a really good friend of mine, so I love him. And then we want to welcome Brian Schultz, who is the Chief Information Officer, CIO, at Cruise Planners, where he leads the development of technological innovation. So it's going to be great to have him here today with us. Under his decade of leadership, Cruise Planners' IT team has expanded into a dedicated department consisting delivering cutting-edge technology solutions in the travel and the franchise industries. And Brian's exceptional contributions and his visionary leadership were recognized when he was awarded the prestigious CIO of the Year award at the South Florida Business Journal's annual Technology Awards. Working closely with the Cruise Planners, travel advisors, and home office team, Brian ensures the creation of seamless and efficient tools that streamline business management processes, cementing his reputation as a tech guru in the travel industry. So please remember that you are all muted. We do welcome your questions, and you can just type those into the question area that you see on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll get to the questions at the end when the presentation is all over. Now today, one very lucky attendee is going to be awarded a $100 American Express gift card, which is so nice of you at Cruise Planners. Thank you. So we'll get to that at the end. So listen carefully, because there's going to be a question that you're going to need to answer quickly to be able to have your chance to win. So I'm going to go ahead now and just turn the microphone over to our speakers, Scott and Brian. Welcome, gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much, Joni. Great to be here with you, and always great to be working with you. And thank you so much for hosting us today and putting this together. I won't tell anyone that you're actually in Hawaii and working this from Hawaii. I promise I'm not going to say that. But
I knew you would.
We're up from all over the country here, and actually even now Hawaii. And it's great to be here with Brian, and we'll be jabbering a little bit more here as time goes on. This is going to be a little different structure than maybe you have gotten used to seeing on some of these webinars and such, in that we're really going to do this kind of round table-ish. I'll be setting up kind of the overall structure, and then we're going to go around, and the third person that you may or may not see, we're not sure whether you see us or not, so but we're smiling and ready to see you here, is Rick Saltarelli, and Rick is actually joining us, and we're so glad to have him here because he is you. So Brian and I, of course, work for Cruise Planners, but Rick owns a franchise of Cruise Planners and is a frontline, wonderful, fabulous salesperson, and also is someone that we tend to go to whenever we do want input from the front lines when it comes to our technology. I know Brian's reached out to Rick many, many times over various different projects along the way, because he's always got some great input. So we wanted to have someone on here with us beyond Brian and myself to give you kind of that the realities of using these things that we're going to talk about. So Rick, welcome.
Thank you very much, Scott and Brian, for inviting me along.
Of course, great to have you. All right, well, let me kick this off and kind of do a little bit of a setup of today's call, and I'll do that by starting by referring back to what the title of this seminar was, or of this workshop: Stay Ahead, Stay Profitable. secrets of a tech-driven travel advisor. And isn't that really why we're all here, right? Isn't that really why we're in this business? Is really kind of asking yourself, how do I stay ahead? How am I make sure that I am taking advantage of the best things available in this industry to help me become and stay more profitable? And really, that's the bottom line aspect of, I think, why we're in this business, but also who you align yourself with. And there's no doubt that that is a big choice and a big decision. And we know that there's a lot of other great entities out there, a lot of great host agencies, et cetera, that exist out there. And our job is basically here to try to tell you why we think we have some very unique answers to that stay ahead and stay profitable. And the way that again, I want to walk through that is to walk you through what we use as kind of a visual representation of the world of a travel advisor. Specifically, of course, we do this for all of our cruise planners franchisees, but I just want to walk through this, that again, a lot of us are visual learners. I know certainly I am. And this really kind of separates your business into two, I'll call them journeys, separate journeys, that really every travel advisor is in the midst of. And you have kind of two journeys that you walk through. On the left-hand side of your screen is what we kind of the journey, what we call the journey to your North Star. And I'll call this kind of the preparational aspects of how to become successful in this business and what you need to do to get there. It starts with a North Star, and just very simply, that basically is, what do you want out of this business? What's your ultimate goal? What kind of lifestyle, not just financially, but what kind of lifestyle you're looking for? As we know, there are those of us in this business that are full-time, there are some that are part-time, different goals, different desires, different amount of hours you want to put in, all those good things. So what is the North Star, and what is your USP, which is a unique selling proposition? And hopefully you've thought about that, of what makes you different. Well, then that's based upon your goals, and that's where it gets a little bit more specific around, you know, what is the amount of sales that you want to do in a quarter or in the year, and maybe with certain suppliers or certain product types, and what are those goals, and can you track those goals, right, and see how you're progressing towards those goals. And then, of course, it's one thing to have a goal. You want to sell $1 million or $100,000 or whatever that might be. You need the plans and the strategies to get there. And so what are we going to do to, again, take the steps to get to that success? And then finally, what are you going to do to basically implement all of those plans? How are you going to track what's happening, and how are you going to keep up with all of the various things happening? Well, all of that kind of creates that journey. One of the things that's so unique about our technology, and we'll dig into this a little bit more, is that we've actually built our technology around this. So a lot of people might talk about, oh, you need to set goals. Well, we've actually built our technology so that those goals are things you set within the system. They are tracked, they're reported upon, and a lot of this information is then shared on what we call our SOAR dashboard. So you can see where you are at any given time. You can do your marketing plans through our system and then actually track to see what the return on investment is and whether it's working and isn't working. And we have, which we'll spend a lot of time talking about, is our task manager system. Now, all that then moves over to the sales and marketing journey, which is really where you spend most of your time every day, right? It's basically, how do I get the phone to ring? And then how do I get that person to buy once I talk to them on the phone? And this really describes kind of in a visual way of that process, and starts there with acquisition marketing, and then reaction marketing means once they're in your database, you got to get them to raise their hand. And then it goes through this cycle all the way through. Again, what we've done is designed our technology to give you resources and assistance in every single one of these boxes all the way around. Because again, at the end, when you think about it, technology is all about making you more efficient. And so what we wanted to do is dive into really, you know, what are the 7 things that maybe are the biggest challenges that travel advisors have in reaching their goals, reaching their North Star, and maybe we'll say, specifically reaching the kind of lifestyle and goal that they want to hit in this business. And so it starts with the number one question that I get all the time in all of my training, both in cruise planners, outside of cruise planners in this industry: time management. How do I get more out of the time that I have? Whatever number of hours I put in, how do I get more out? So we're going to dig into each of these. The next one is, again, keeping up with technology. How do I learn what's new? How do I take advantage of new things? What's happening? What are new programs that I should be paying attention to? The next one here, again, is staying current with the pricing changes. We know this is a huge, huge challenge out there, right? Of how do you know prices are changing, again, within each supplier. Plus, of course, you have various offers and you've got specials and rate codes and all that good stuff. How do you keep up with all of that? And then continuing, we've got managing your client communications from anywhere. In other words, how do you do business on an ongoing basis, assuming probably part of your goal is to be able to do some travel yourself, right? You want to be out there experiencing cruises and all that good stuff. So again, how do you keep that communication going, and how do you keep it consistent and make it very customer focused? The next one, again, is facilitating exciting virtual consultations. And this is a big one that obviously we all fell into, not necessarily because we wanted to, but with the pandemic, suddenly in-person meetings got replaced by, as we know, Zoom and other type of operations. And yes, we all have access to that. But what if there was something better? What if there was something more unique? Well, we're going to introduce you to something that we think is very unique in that regard. And then again, as we continue down the list, how do you compete now, right? So we can have all these wonderful things, but at the end of the day, this is still a competitive business, right? A lot of competitors out there, a lot of different things. How do you compete with those online travel agents and the big retailers? We're going to attack that very ominous question. And then we're going to close it up and just really talk about, is technology on its way to replace us entirely, right? Are we all just basically doing this for a little while and then boom, we're all out of business? And Lord knows we've heard that prophecy for years and years and years. So we're going to dig into that. So let me dig right in, and we're going to go to the very first challenge there, which is time management. And so I'm now going to turn it over. I'm going to start with Brian to kind of talk a little bit about the efficiencies that we built around our systems and introduce these two things that are on the screen here, and then Rick to give us some frontline examples of what he uses for those. So Brian, take it away.
Well, thank you, Scott, and thank you to everyone participating today. Yeah, so like Scott, I interact with advisors pretty much every day, and that question of more hours in the day, or how can I accomplish more with such limited time, what's the best way to do that? And Scott touched on it a little while ago. When thinking about designing systems that are for the modern travel advisor, and I use that word modern very specifically, the idea is that you are not tethered to a computer. You're somebody who's out and about. You're in the real world. Many of you are doing this as a part-time job. Many of you are doing this as a second income. There's a lot of different ways in which travel advisors need to construct their business. And the fact that we now live in a world where technology enables that freedom, we need those tools to really support that. So the platform that a cruise planner's agent gets when they become an advisor with us is what we call CP Max, which is a homegrown or proprietary system that we've developed over the past it actually is predates my tenure at Cruise Planners. It's been so long. It's just evolved over the years into what I consider to be one of the most innovative platforms in the industry. And people always ask me, it's just a CRM, right? Or you hear that a lot, So I'm sure many of you out there are used to using tools like Clientbase, and there are some other applications out there that you install on your computer, and they have some capabilities. But what CP Max does is it takes the concept of running a travel franchise or a travel business to a whole different level. And it really looks at it from a variety of different dimensions. It's not just reservation management, which I think we have about as competitive a tool that exists in the industry, but it's also about client management. It's about using and leveraging different marketing tactics. It's about having data to inform your decision making. And what CP Max is designed to be is a comprehensive business tool. It's much more than just a travel agency tool. It's the system that helps you keep track of everything, to know exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, and how you should be doing it. And through the various different tools that we've imparted into this platform, we think that we've come up with a way to make advisors as efficient as possible. And one of the things I always say when talking about our products is that your job is to sell travel to people who want to go on vacations. Our job is to provide a system that allows you to manage all of that and to stay out of your way to a certain extent, right? Because if the system is cumbersome, or if it takes too much effort, or you're spending too much time figuring things out, that's time spent away from your core, passion, which is to sell travel to your vacationing customers. And that's what our overarching objective is when delivering on CP Max. I will also say with this product that it's ongoing. There is never a moment where there isn't active enhancements taking place within the platform. And that's an exciting thing for a technologist like myself, to be able to bring capabilities to our advisors in a way that makes them more efficient and ultimately allows them to sell more.
And Rick, you've been with us long enough to see quite an evolution, I think, of CP Max. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your thoughts and opinions of the system, the way it exists today?
Well, so this is at least a third version upgrade from when I became a franchisee, and I was impressed with the technology back then. That's 11 years ago. So the one thing I like about the technology is that it's in-house. So the suggestions from the field go to the IT team, and they evaluate that, and if it has merit, they make those changes, and they make it available system-wide. So this isn't just available for new agents or long-term agents. Everybody in the network has access to the very same information. I love technology. That's kind of been my spin from the last career I was in. So I start every day on my dashboard. I want to see where I am against my goals, against my North Star. I look at my task manager. I want to see what I perhaps have missed and what I have to do that day and what's coming up on my radar. And so for me, the technology is the big part of my day. It does a lot of neat things just for booking, but it's really for the customer management. For me, it's just a very, very necessary part of my business every day.
Well, let me use your comment to transition to one particular thing that we built and released. Actually, gosh, I don't know what it is now. Maybe 2 years even, but it's been a game changer to a lot of folks. And I'm going to have Brian talk through it in terms of what it is, and then Rick, maybe you can tell us how it's helped you. The way I'll set it up is that, again, this is an easy business if you only had one customer, right? And you only had to do one customer and keep track of one customer. But basically, to hit all those goals, which are in and built into our CP Max system, obviously you need more customers, you need a lot, and then that means you need more marketing, and you need a lot of things to track. And so what happens is, when we talk about time management in particular, is it becomes a world of either post-it notes or trying to remember where you wrote things down or when I should do the next thing. And obviously some of that, you think, well, it's not that important, but other things like a final payment or those kind of things, you can't let things fall through the cracks in this business. So Brian, we created a pretty cool little tool called.
Well, I think you're serving up our task manager for us. I have to correct you. This is far from a little tool. This is a massive system. So, Scott kind of hit on it. This is an idea that you'll see in other industries. A lot of different products out there have similar type concepts, except what we did is we made it very travel advisor focused, right? So when we were talking about creating this product, we met with a bunch of our network, and the variety of ways that travel advisors go about keeping track of their necessary tasks was quite impressive. You had everything from somebody like a Rick, who is already very technology forward, utilizing a third party to do this, to people who were sticky notes, and they had something on their wall, like a whiteboard or something like that. Could be like Scott, who writes all of his stuff on a doily at a fancy restaurant. That's how he keeps track of everything. So when we set out to do this, we thought, okay, we need something that works for advisors in a meaningful way, and more important than that is flexible enough to pivot depending on the travel type. So we're cruise planners. We obviously do a ton of cruise business, but we are equally positioned in traditional land-based vacations, whether it's escorted tour, all-inclusive resorts, even FIT travel and whatnot. And what we found is that there are some consistent things that you as an advisor would need to do depending on the type of travel. So I'll give you 2 quick examples. If you're booking a traveler on a international trip that's a couple of years out, you can't get those flights for them until just a little under a year out from that vacation. Well, what would you do about that? Some people would write a sticky note, maybe tack it to their wall and say, don't forget, 330 days before departure, you're going to make a phone call. You could do that. You could put it on a whiteboard or something like that. We didn't think that made a whole lot of sense. What we thought made sense was to create a system that would queue up these types of tasks based on the type of travel that you're putting in, but beyond that, allowing you complete and 100 flexibility to customize it to your needs. So you can set up these tasks, and as Rick sort of alluded to earlier, we'll notify you, hey, your tasks are past due. The task manager is entirely designed for you to be more efficient, to get more hours back in your day, to never miss that important task that makes the difference between a successful and an unsuccessful vacation. So you won't miss the opportunity to book their flights as early as possible. You won't miss the ability to, schedule their specialty dining. By using the task manager, the system is queuing up these events in a strategic way, and then you can decide what to focus on, what's most important. Can you push something to later? Do you need to call that customer? Do you need to make travel insurance arrangements? All of that is built into the platform. And then one other thing I'll say before I turn it over to Rick is we also very much believe, and this is a good facet of the task manager, we believe that mobile applications are an equally important part of your experience as an advisor. Like I said, you can't be tethered to your computer all day long. So you're traveling or you're servicing a customer, you need to be able to check your tasks. So you've actually embedded this into our mobile app that we give to every advisor so that managing your tasks can happen on the go, or if you have some time and you can sit down at your desktop, you can manage it to a level that I think probably rivals any competitive product in the travel industry or outside of the travel industry.
That's great. And just as a way of setup here, I want everyone to know Rick is a very successful franchisee and does a tremendous amount of volume. And so obviously, again, when we talk about having one task or one customer, or when you have to do this is one thing, but Rick, you're dealing with hundreds of customers at any given time, plus a number of other things. So tell us how you've kind of utilized the task manager in your world.
Well, thank you, Scott and Brian. And to add to that, I also love to travel, so I'm away a lot. And the problem with that whiteboard with all the sticky notes on it, can't go on a cruise with it. So the beauty I like about Task Manager, there's a number, but one is it's with me wherever I am, mobile, on my computer. I always have access to my Task Manager. The second is I customize it completely. So for me, for every reservation I create, it automatically, because I've set them up, assigns about 18 tasks to that reservation, whether it's follow-up calls, sending the invoice, sending a thank you card, because yes, even though we're technology driven, I do send a handwritten card, assigning seats if there's a flight involved, calling the client, reminding them to do their check-in, following up with the client when they get home. I also give my clients a call 2 days before they depart on their trip. And all of those are in the task manager process for me. I set one up a little bit different for land vacations than I do for cruise vacations and groups, which we all know is a big part of our business. I have a different task manager schedule for all of my cruise groups because there's just a few extra things I need to do inside that cruise group itself. And so in addition, every day when I check into my dashboard, I get a list of the things that I need to do that day. And I can just start working on those as soon as I see what there is to do. And as Brian alluded to, we get notifications. I have chosen to have notifications sent to me by email. So it's a list of the tasks for the day. And there's also a notification tab on our computer that I can see anytime I want to, just with a click of a mouse.
Well, Rick, I think you touched on some great features of this program, and 100% I do stand to be corrected. This was a major project, as you can imagine, folks, putting this tool together. And we literally could spend not only the rest of this hour talking just about Task Manager, we could probably spend the next 3, because as Brian said, we really have developed this from the ground up, which is the beautiful thing of all of our technology, is that we first of all can look at all the other third parties that are out there. Then we get the feedback directly from again, Rick and others in our network that give us what they're looking for. And as you can tell, this is really, it's a to-do list, it's a checklist, it's a reminder system, it's a notification, it's everything rolled into one that again, and the beauty is, and this is the key, is that all the things that we're going to talk about today, and really everything in CPMax, is they're all interrelated. And that whole diagram that I started with, again, these aren't just esoteric thoughts of, you really should come up with a marketing plan. Well, okay, that sounds good, but no, we have the system designed to help you come up with that plan and to determine where customers are coming from. And then that tracks through and gives you information. All the information that Rick said about customizing what happens. Again, you can certainly imagine from that, the customer service level you're able to give your customers increases dramatically. Why? Because you're not missing anything, and you're touching base in the cadence that you're looking to make sure that they hear from you on a regular basis. And I love the fact that you do handwritten notes. And again, all of you that are on the call might have certain things that you do and certain things you want to make sure that you have as wonderful little reminders as to why someone booked through you and why it was a great choice. And again, as we know, it's just a matter of, you got to have that little reminder to say, oh yeah, I got to do this today and make sure I take care of that. So again, the system really is designed for that. And I will say, again, because of time, we don't have time to go into all the various systems that we have. And but I will say that everything that you saw on that original diagram I walked through, we have, again, software and developed things to support you, help you develop even more as this goes. So again, this in particular, because of that time management side that we still see as the #1 thing that everybody says, I need to get more out of the next hour I have that I'm putting into this business. That's what this was designed for. And again, the impact has been huge. So let me jump to the next question here. And again, we've just got the classic picture of what maybe some of you feel like sometimes is, how do you keep up with and learn the new technology that's out there? And actually, Rick, I'm going to go right to you on this one. What do you do to kind of keep up with just technology in general, and maybe specifically all the things that we keep coming up with?
So a great question. Thank you, Scott. So first of all, you have to like technology. You have to like what it can do for you and see the advantage. The other thing is I encourage people is learn everything that's in the technology. Very often people will buy new software, for example, or buy a new piece of hardware, and they only use a very small percentage of it, which was maybe the reason they bought it in the first place. I want this because of this piece of technology. But there's so much more in there. And if you take the time to embrace it and take the time to learn that technology, whether it's software or hardware, you will find that there are a lot more features built into there. And then I kind of think it asks the question, what more could this do for me? And so it's kind of being inquisitive and kind of really sitting back and saying, wow, this has saved me a whole lot of time from what I used to do.
That's great. And I'll say that there are two of many programs that we offer at Cruise Planners to provide more education and the opportunity to learn specifically about our technology. One is in our Star University, which is the program that we hold in Fort Lauderdale 6 times a year for our new franchisees, so people who are coming on board brand new, including those of you that most of you on this call that have a travel background. And we put in a fair amount of time teaching all of these various resources because it's a new system, right? So CPMax will be new to you. And again, what makes it so unique is all of them are tied together. So we walk you through that whole process. But we also have what we call tech days, and we do a couple of days deep dive into CPMax and our systems. And Brian, I know you do a lot of the teaching at that particular program, and I know you've got a lot of reaction of, oh, I didn't know that it did that. So tell us a little bit more about what that's been like.
Yeah, it's an experience that I have quite frequently, and I always look at this question, and I do have a certain amount of sympathy for folks out there, particularly my advisors, because we like to refer to it lovingly as a fire hose of technology, right? Because the world of technology advances quite a bit, right? Just from month to month, week to week, even from year to year, there's going to be changes. And the industry itself, the travel industry itself, evolves. And so what a forward-thinking company has to do, a company that sort of prides itself on innovation, you have to start thinking about how can we leverage new technology in order to enhance the experience of not only the advisor in terms of the planning, but even to a certain extent the consumer and how we communicate with them. The downside to that, or the negative, is that it's difficult for an advisor to keep up, right? It's tough to always be abreast of all the types of things that we're putting out there, all the different systems. And even if you're aware of them, it's the application of them that becomes challenging, right? Because it's how do I know when to use this or that? So what we do with this, or the way in which we approach it, and a lot of it we talk about at the Tech Days sessions that Scott mentioned, is what we do is we talk a lot about the why. Why would I use this tool, and how does that overlay for a business situation? Because ultimately, when you're going through and you're selling a customer, and Scott had it in that earlier slide, there's a life cycle you follow, right? You got to qualify them, you got to present them different options, you got to send them a quote potentially, and then you got to get them booked. And then even once you've gotten them booked, you have to stay engaged with them. You have to stay top of mind, and particularly when you're talking about a vacation that might be 16, 18 months out. You don't want just the booking process to end and then your customer never hears from you, because then that kind of leaves a bad taste in their mouth. So what we try to do, or the approach that we try to take, is to sort of educate the network as to the why. I would use this tool when I have this situation presented to me. And then we'll obviously dig into the how, which buttons to click, and how you're going to find the tool and how do you set things up. But without that why, or the context to the reason for the tool, it kind of doesn't really fall into your daily practices. So Rick touched on it a little bit earlier. When he uses the task manager, he's incorporating in this technology to improve his ability to manage his customers, but ultimately it ends up benefiting the customer. If he doesn't make a mistake or miss something due to the task manager keeping him on top of it, he's providing excellent customer service, and he's building loyalty between him and that consumer. And that is ultimately what this technology is designed to do: make you more efficient, and improve or reinforce those relationships between you and your customer, and present new travel options that may not have been there in the past. We now live in a world where there's a lot of complication out there within this industry, from package suppliers to all-inclusive resorts to cruises and promotions. You have to have a system that provides you all of the relevant information so that you can be effective as an advisor. And that's really what we try to do here. Does it take some effort on your part to understand how these things work? Of course, but it's a business, right? And like any business, you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. So we really, truly encourage you to learn about the tools, learn about the business cases where the tools apply, and then execute them in whatever capacity makes sense for your business.
Yeah, so true. And I'll wrap this question up by saying that the other major advantage is that we really are the only entity that I know in the hosting world, et cetera, that really does have kind of, I'll call it the soup to nuts. That might date me a little bit, but the soup to nuts technology package. So part of the challenge of keeping up is that if you were saying, well, I need to find a CRM. Well, now you're going to research 12 different places, and you got to figure out which one's better and why one fits, and was it built for travel advisors? And then, oh, now I need another piece of technology, as an example, Task Manager, to keep track of my tasks. Well, the two of those don't talk together. So now I got to figure out how I'm going to spend the time of moving the things that I'm doing in one to the other. And then, oh, I need to do another piece of software to create a marketing plan. And oh, I need one. And none of these talk together. And again, each one requires you learning something completely different on a completely different platform. And the beauty, again, with cruise planners is we've put all of this under one umbrella. And I can guarantee, and Rick will be one of the first ones who will tell us if we're missing anything, right? Or if we have any particular software that is like, everybody else has this, or we should really think about doing that. If we're not already on it, we'll hear from you. And to Rick's point earlier is that we make that change. We come, we'll look at it and go, wow, we're hearing from this and from the front lines, they need this. And again, that was the creation of the Task Manager. Creation of many of these resources came from, gosh, this is where we need help. So again, having that all centralized under a proprietary umbrella really makes a huge difference. All right, so let's continue with that kind of trend of, again, of how do I keep up, or how do I stay current with pricing changes? So again, Brian, I'll go back to you on this one. Obviously, these are things that are constantly moving. And again, do they need to go to 48 different places to try to keep up with this?
Yeah, no, this is probably, one of the top 5 things I get asked about all the time. We could talk about airfare and hotel pricing, but you guys know this as well as I do, is that this stuff is volatile depending on, space availability, how close you are to booking it, are there upgrades available? All those things become really challenging. So you need a system, a comprehensive platform that provides you this information. And most importantly, you need it in real time. You need it to be able to check based on actual availability, not necessarily based on a price that might be stale or something that's a little old. So I'm going to take some time to just kind of briefly talk about the final one there, which is the cruise line inventory. And what we do at Cruise Planners, and I think it's something that's really helpful, is that we do have connections directly into the cruise lines or through a third party, where we can actually access inventory levels to check the cabin prices and category rates and things of that nature. We look at the different rate programs that are offered by the cruise lines. We look at the qualifying conditions for those rates, and then we present those back to you, which then obviously you would share with your consumers. But we take it even one step further, and this is something that we've been doing for some time, but I think it's incredibly important to understand a little bit of the psychology of pricing, because what ends up happening is that when you quote somebody a vacation price, that sort of gets locked in stone, regardless if the price can change. So if you're sending a quote to somebody and it's a Monday morning and that price came in and you were looking at a balcony cabin, and you send it over to your customer, but they don't have an opportunity to actually review that quote, it could be a day or maybe 2 or 3 later. Well, you guys know what can happen in that scenario. That price could change. That category could be no longer available. That cruise line could have raised the price. And in those regards, it makes it for a very challenging experience, because then that consumer feels like they're being baited, right? They're feeling like, I don't understand. You told me it was this price. Now you're telling me it's this price. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have. So what we do in our system is when we're sending out one of our quotes, we actually reflect the live pricing each time the quote is presented. So there is no possibility for bait and switch. If I send you a quote on a Sunday, but you don't look at it until, let's say, that Tuesday, that will reflect the price as of that moment, including the available inventory that's there. So the customer is always confident that the pricing is current. The customer is always confident that you're having their best interest at heart, because you're quote unquote looking at the price for them when they're ready to have that price. And then finally, once you've booked them and they're ready to go, let's say a few months from now, what you don't want is for that price to drop in the real world and it be your consumer telling you, hey, I just checked the price. I paid a little bit more than this, than what I'm seeing right now. So we actually have our systems in place that actually check the price of your cruise every single night. And what ends up happening is if the price were to adjust both positively and negatively, we will inform you. And then from there, it's up to you if you want to upgrade the cabin or reduce the fare in order to get that customer that additional benefit. But these are all technology solutions stacked on top of existing systems. But what it doesn't require you to do is to have to hunt for pricing or have to keep an eye on pricing, keep tracking everything. Let the system handle that. Let the system do most of the heavy lifting. And you always come away looking like a hero to your customer, because to them, you're looking out for their best interests.
Rick, how has it helped you specifically?
Well, I'll add one thing to that. What Brian has said is all 100% correct. I also use a feature that's built in where I can check for price adjustments when I'm going to do the final payment. So in real time, I can check to see if the price has gone down. And if I want to do a price drop for the client, then I can let them know, I went to do your final payment today, and there's an adjustment of X number of dollars. I pass that on to you, and they're always appreciative of that. And otherwise, I would have to go to the cruise line website to do all of that. This way, I'm all doing it from the same place where I'm making the payment.
That's perfect. I think again, the concept is it's as much as humanly possible, and maybe even beyond, we're trying to put everything under one umbrella, right? So again, you're not having to go to 14 different sites, not having to go to different programs to, again, keep you current. And really, I'll keep coming back to this probably throughout the whole webinar here that we're together, is keep coming back to the fact that it just saves you time. And if you can save time, you'll make more money. That's really what everything comes down to here. So moving into the next challenge that, again, was brought up. And by the way, these challenges are things that, again, each of us have heard over time on the challenges of our business. And Rick, I'm going to jump to you on this one because you mentioned you really like to travel, right? And I would guess this is one of those really wild guesses that pretty much everybody on this call does too, right? That's why we're in this business. That's why we're again looking at different options. Is how can not only you do a better job managing your client communication, but how can you also do a little bit of travel yourself and do this in the most efficient way? So how have you found our mobile app to help you in this regard?
Well, I use both my computer, which I take with me everywhere, but also my mobile app. And we have made payments for clients in the strangest of places using mobile applications. So sometimes 2 different cell phones, chatting to a client on one phone and making a payment on another phone, or looking up a price for them, all things that we could not have done 25 years ago. We were tethered to our desks, or the technology just didn't exist. So embracing that mobile technology and the ability to communicate with people. My clients don't know. I don't tell people where I am. They don't know whether I'm on a cruise ship in Bermuda or whether I'm on the beach in Hawaii. They just know I'm picking up the phone and answering it, and I can meet any of their needs, whether it's a quote or a booking or to do a payment.
I love it. And Brian, not only do we, well, let me say it this way. We don't have just one app, we've got two. So tell us a little bit about the different things that we offer.
Right. So for advisors like Rick, we have an app that we sort of refer to as a companion to CP Max. CP Max Mobile is the name we call it. And that allows him to manage his tasks, manage his clients, his reservations. He can chat with his customers directly through that app. But really, it's sort of a supplementary tool that Rick can use when he's out and about, and gives him, the most pertinent information, access to most up-to-date information about his reservations. The other app that we have is for your customers. So we tell every advisor, if you become a cruise planner, you can tell your customers, download my app. And essentially what that app allows them to do is, I mean, there's just a ton of capabilities. Probably the most important is the ability to manage their vacation. So if you are booked on a cruise and they have access to your mobile app as an advisor, they could go in there and they can see the details, deck plans, cabin details, the pricing they paid. They can even submit payment to the cruise line directly through the mobile app. There's also quite a bit of consumer-friendly capabilities relative to searching. So you can search for all-inclusive resorts, you can search for excursions and day trips. There's all sorts of tools built into the app, currency converters, weather forecasters. We wanted to create a terrific travel app that doesn't necessarily need to be a cruise planners app. We want to just make a great travel app, and we're quite proud of the app that we have. And every advisor, when they're setting up their customer in the CP Max platform, can offer this app. It's at no cost to the consumer. It just becomes part of the selling process by the advisor, and then part of the vacation management and experience part by the consumer. So now they have this app that's got all the relevant information in there. As an advisor, you can update the information, you can send documents to the app, you can really leverage it as a way of being with them when you're not physically with them, because everything that they need about their vacation is accessible inside their app. They can even chat with you through their mobile app. So if they had a question for you while they were on the trip, they can just open up the app and it starts chatting directly with the advisor associated with the booking. So mobile technology, as we all know, it's 2023, it's not going anywhere. If anything, it's becoming more and more prevalent. It is incredibly important for you as an advisor to have this capability, but also just think about the credibility that it builds between you and your consumer, knowing that you have a professional app that they can download, that they can access their trip information, they can do all the things that I mentioned before, in a cohesive experience that just feels like how travel should feel in 2023.
If I may, I'll just add one other feature I really like about the app is if somebody's on the app and they find a trip that they like and they favor it, I get a notification. And I just might happen to call them in a day and say, hey, have you ever thought about going to X? And I know they're interested.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, we, obviously, again, that kind of behavior and knowing what the customers want and be able to react to it is really key. It's interesting for over I'll say the last 10 years, if any of you have tracked your websites and the usage of websites, it's really gone for where the vast majority of all website visits used to happen on a desktop, and now it's flipped. The vast majority of visits all happen on a mobile phone, right, or a mobile device. And that's the reality, as Brian said, is that is where everything is going. It is the nature of how people want to be communicated with. It's how they want to communicate. They want to get things done quickly on their phones. And again, we're cutting edge and ahead of the game there. And again, we could spend an hour talking about all the features that are available on both of those two apps. But from a consumer perspective, obviously that's the key. And that kind of leads me to the next question here, which is, one of the things, if I go back and just I'll reference, we don't need to look at the picture, but if I reference again that cycle, that marketing and sales cycle, and Rick's already mentioned, a couple scenarios, as has Brian, as to what makes that experience different for a customer. And One of the things that, again, if you remember the top part of the pyramid to success that we call it, was what we call the USP, which is your unique selling proposition. And the concept of that is to kind of answer the question of why should you do business with me, and to try to summarize that as best you can. But at the end, we do have to have a good reason why a consumer should book with you and not book direct and not book elsewhere. And the way to do that is to kind of dissect the process, right? Which is that diagram that we have there, and say, what can I do at each of these steps to do something? Again, a couple different terms that we use, either a shock and awe, right? That you surprise the customer like, wow, I didn't know you could do that, which again, I think our mobile apps do and other things do that are consumer facing. And really, make that difference, right? Of wow, this is something different. And so to that end, one of the things that Brian's team created, and really one of Brian's brainchilds, was to say, well, okay, everybody got used to doing Zooms. We've seen a lot of Zoom calls. They're out there. We obviously had to communicate that way. But what can we do to make it a little bit better, right? Maybe I'm using the wrong term there again, Brian. A lot better than just your standard Zoom call. So we introduced this program, and I'll start with you, Brian, to give us kind of an overview of the Live Planner system. So what is it, and what does it do, and why is it wonderful?
So thank you, Scott. The impetus for creating a Live Planner was exactly what you're describing. We all, as a society, got accustomed to the concept of using Zoom as our way of communicating with our customers. The challenge with Zoom, and there's a myriad of them, but one of the biggest challenges with it is that when I want to share information with my customer about something, let's say I'm planning an FIT vacation for them in Europe, what am I doing? I either have to create a PowerPoint presentation that I then share through Zoom, or I'm taking them to a website where I'm going to walk them through something. And the problem with that is that it could be distracting. It could be a little impersonal. It's different than when you're sitting face to face and you can, they can touch and feel something. So we came up with this concept that we call Live Planner, which, for lack of a better description, allows you and your customer to have an experience over the internet where you are able to share various travel options that are either pre-curated, meaning you've set it up in advance, or you're doing it in real time. In other words, you're putting together different options, and as you come up with those options, you're feeding it to their computer screen without them having to require any special software or anything like that. They're just online, and you're now feeding them information. But what's most important is that you're in the driver's seat as the advisor. So let's say we're talking about a cruise vacation, and we're looking at a particular brand. They got a variety of different sailings, 7-night, 5-night, 10-night, different price points and whatnot. And as you talk to your customer, you're saying to them, which of these, looks like something that'd be interesting to you? Let me show you some information. Well, through Live Planner, you could send, for example, just the ports of call that are associated with that sailing. You could send the video that exists about the ship, maybe all the different amenities that are available. I could take the dining that's for that particular ship and just present those options to the consumer. And again, it's all happening in real time. I'm deciding as the advisor what I want them to see. They then see it, and then as they engage with that information, maybe they click on it to learn more, maybe they click a little thumbs up that they're interested, you're getting that information fed back to you through the system. So it's this concept of a much more personalized and, I dare I say, intimate experience when dealing through a technology solution like this, making that connection between you and your customer so much more appealing than a traditional Zoom session. It's something that when somebody has one of these Live Planner sessions, the consumer is left thinking, wow, that is really incredible. That is some capabilities I have never seen before. And my advisors really got their act together. They really have some great capabilities. When you're competing against direct suppliers or you're competing against OTAs, you need an arsenal of weapons that you can use to sort of impress upon your consumer just how capable you are. Live Planner is one of those tools. And what we've seen, and this is a tool that's relatively recent, within the last 6 or 8 months, we've rolled it out. We're seeing that those experiences last longer in terms of the presentations. They last longer than a traditional presentation. We find the close rate is appreciably higher than a traditional closing situation. And then finally, and probably most importantly, the price that people are paying for those very same vacations, if you do it through Live Planner versus doing it through traditional means, it's about a 25% increase over their traditional price. So all those tell us that it's a way that not only allows you to be super impressive and really impart some great capabilities on your consumer, but that the consumer sees the value in, to the point that they're willing to do what you're ultimately attempting to have happen. They're booking more travel with you because of it. So we're excited about it. Rick was actually one of the advisors that was part of our advisory committee that helped us design this tool. So I've given Rick a lot of credit and a lot of platitudes. He deserves all of them, because it's people like him who are able to come to us and say, you know what, Brian, this is how I would use this, or this is how I would take advantage of it. Those are the types of things that we then internalize here, and we impart that into the platform. So you know, he's somebody who, you know, was instrumental in the development of the tool, and like many of our other advisors, are helping us to enhance these tools to bring more capabilities to advisors out there. Scott, I think you might be muted.
Sorry, Rick, thoughts on the program?
No, I'm going to say that there is so much upside to this program, because it gives you the ability to have an in-person relationship with a person without being anywhere close to them. So you can have a relationship over the phone, but people want to see you. They want to see your lips moving. They want to see that you're a real person, and the ability to present to them actually quicker than you would in your own office is just means there's so much more upside to this going forward. So, and at the very end, the client walks away with pretty detailed vacation planned out for them that they can keep on their device, or they can print out if they want and share with others.
That's great. Well, I know we're kind of running up to a little bit of a time limit here, so I'm going to quickly answer the next one, and then I'm going to have maybe Rick quickly answer the next challenge. And that, first of all, I think we've really answered these questions with the OTA and the big retailers. Is you compete by offering a unique selling proposition that is buoyed up and is basically enhanced because of the technology that you use. Some of that technology is like the Life Planner, is facing the consumer, and some of it is not facing the consumer but results in an extraordinary experience for the consumer. I'll guarantee the OTAs are not checking prices on a regular basis. They are not sending handwritten notes. They are not doing things along the way that are special and that, again, Rick has put into his task manager of, you know, send destination information or check on the air seats or whatever. Those kinds of things are what's going to make you different. And while we all know that, and we might have the intentions that, yes, I'm going to provide that, the question is, you know, how are you going to do that, and how are you going to do that to the scale that you need to make the income that you want and get to that profitability? And that answer is technology, and it's specifically, I think you'll find, very uniquely in place for cruise planners, which is why so many, again, big producers and people who have been in the industry looking to increase their sales have been joining us more recently, is again because of those technology solutions. And then leading to the last challenge here is, which is really the question mark that keeps coming up about every 10 years, depending on some new thing that hits us. Is technology going to replace us? Rick, do you think we should all just say, well, AI is going to take care of this, we don't need to be around anymore?
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever happen. But I think, first of all, you have to embrace technology yourself as a trusted travel advisor. People have been talking about the demise of the travel agent for decades. My belief is that people still want to have a relationship with somebody. They're handing over their cash to or their credit card and asking them to book a big vacation. Remember, for those that are on the call that do this every day for a living, there's still a large percentage of the North American public that have never been on a cruise ship. And cruise ships have gotten more complicated. Some ships have 27 different types of rooms that people could book. They don't know what to book. And there's a lot of people that are looking to do international travel. They've never been out of the USA. A lot of Americans do not have passports yet. And I am seeing a big increase of people that are new to travel and new to cruise, and they really need the help of a trusted advisor. From my perspective, they can do all the research they want, and they do a lot of research, and then they kind of narrowed it down, but they want to have the opinion and the advice of somebody that has been there or has input from clients that have been there, and share with them what their experience is going to be. And then match that with all of the technology that we have, like Task Manager, that helps us do things in such a thoughtful way All we've done is increased our value to the consumer, and that brings them back to us again. I don't think we're going away.
So true. And if you do happen to know me, I'm known as a singing salesman. I can't help but think people who need people, they don't necessarily, need the technology. They need each other. So at the end of the day, I completely agree. I know Brian does too. Obviously, our entire livelihood of all of us is based on the fact that we believe that that again, the consumer still wants that human intervention. They want that someone to just answer all the information. We know it's not about information now. You get all that online. So again, I'm going to wrap this up with again just to let you know that the technology on our side, as we jump to the next slide here, is really there to help you unleash your earning potential. And we've built all these things. We were only able to touch on a few elements of our technology package. We wanted to kind of give you a teaser, but we really do hope that you see that again, through this technology, we can indeed help you be the best, because again, we have the best technology platform out there. And I know that's a bold statement, but again, I'll challenge you and challenge ourselves. Put us up against anything out there. Brian and his team have done a phenomenal job of building this based, again, input from Rick and others. We've got a pretty extraordinary opportunity. And of course, it's not to mention, we certainly have all the other things that other hosts talk about. We've got great training programs. We have extraordinary support. Our marketing programs are phenomenal. But really, this particular session, we really want to dig into the tech side of this and dig into why our technology is so different. So we're going to throw up a slide here that basically shows you how to get the travel agency discount. That varies based, again, on maybe your book of business and how long you've been in the business. But again, it's an opportunity to get an incredible price on what is really, again, the best, I think, opportunity to get in and maximize your opportunity to be successful in travel. And so, again, hopefully you'll get a chance to use some of that technology right now. Take a picture of that with your camera, and you can take that QR code and learn a little bit more about not only cruise planners in general, but again, this offer. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back to our our Joni on the beach. And Joni, thank you so much again for hosting us here. And I think we maybe got a question and then a couple of questions and then a giveaway, right?
We do, Scott, and I'm not on the beach right now, but soon. It's still pretty early here. So thank you, gentlemen. This was fantastic and such great information. And I have to say, having been in this industry for just a couple of years now, I know Cruise Planners really does have some of the best technology. Folks, if you're looking for being able to enable your customers to get the information that they need and that you need from them, without question, they're one of the best. Someone did ask, though, if someone, I don't know if someone can post let me see, they said they post the original diagram on the quick review look. Do you have that as like was one of the beginning slides?
Yeah, probably both our foundation to success as well as the kind of what we call our marketing and sales. There you go, the marketing and sales
yeah,
journeys.
They just kind of wanted to take a quick picture of that. So appreciate doing that.
I'm sure they do. And again, obviously this is somewhat generic across the board, but just want to reiterate that again, the difference with Cruise Planners is that we built everything to integrate and to put all these pieces together. So whereas it will help you in terms of at least knowing the visual aspect of the business that you're in, what we've done is design it so that we actually have the resources to tie all this together. And again, if you are interested in learning more about that, I do want to close with the fact that we have franchise development managers that are there to answer any of your questions. They can walk you through this, even talk more about the specific technology that we have for each one of these steps on both of these different diagrams, and can give you a lot more details. So obviously the design in an hour is to tease this up a little bit, tell you a little bit about the information, but we're more than happy to share specifically around these two journeys, how we can help your business.
Well, all the remarks that I'm getting, folks, are fantastic information, exceptional presentation. Gentlemen, you killed it. This was really, really, really good. Thank you. So we do have a prize giveaway. Oh, Scott, there is an interesting comment for you. It says you look really good without your beard. Well, You shaved your beard.
Well, there you go. Again, it's like everything else. Of course, I got comments that people really like it, people don't. But my bride is the one who makes that decision, and she's decided I'm better off without it. So that's
Okay, I know. Yeah, don't argue with her.
with.
Don't argue with Pam. All right, absolutely. All right. Well, it was a great presentation. So now we're going to go ahead and do a prize giveaway, folks. So remember, you're going to put your answer in the questions area on the side of the panel that you see there. And we're going to ask, I'm going to ask Rick, because Rick, you were so gracious today sharing all your information about your business and how far you've come with it. What is your favorite number between 1 and 10, Rick? Your lucky number?
7. 7.
7? Okay, well, that's mine too. I think a lot of people like 7, don't they? All right, so I'm going to pick the 7th person, okay, who puts the correct answer to the correct answer to this question. If you all listen in, and then you will be contacted, whoever wins this will be contacted by Cruise Planners with more information. So, all right, what is the first step in the customer journey? Go. And no, it's not 7, folks. That's the luck. I'm picking the 7th person.
The reason I haven't changed the slide is the answer was sitting there right in front of you. So we'll see what kind of your short-term memory looks like if you come up with
folks,
a quick answer.
I'm waiting. Okay.
And in the meantime, while we're getting the right answer there, Joni, just want to again remind everyone, not only does that QR code work, but this website will give you a lot of information, a lot of testimonials. I think even Rick's on there. And again, a lot of more information to learn more about Cruise Planners and our technology.
Perfect. Okay, the winner of this, first of all, the answer is acquisition marketing. And the winner is Corinne Brust. Congratulations, Corinne. You won a $100 gift certificate, American Express gift card. So that's awesome. Thank you, guys. This was so good, gentlemen. Honestly, it was a great presentation. I know everybody really, really enjoyed it. And I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to share this with everybody. I'm going to go ahead and close this off and say aloha and mahalo from Hawaii. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.